In today's video, we're going to talk about composition, one of the most important parts of your comic page. We're going to look at what composition for comics means, how you can churn them out as fast as possible, and how it can help you improve the overall quality of your comic pages. Also, stay tuned for the end because I have an exciting announcement that you might not want to miss. Welcome back to Pencils and Stories. My name is Henrike and I make and teach comics. If you want to make your own comics as well, then I invite you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Composition is one of the most important parts of your comic page, if not the most important, because it helps with readability. It helps to guide the reader through the page without them having to think about it. You don't necessarily have the composition of the entire page only. You also have a composition in the panels themselves, but composition also applies to the way you stacked your panels onto the page and the way the balloons flow over the page and the way the text is read and the way the text leads your viewer to the artwork, and then so on, so on, so on. So the best way to come up with really good compositions is to do a lot of thumbnailing and really drilling down on thumbnailing. Don't just blast through it and do whatever it always is that you're doing, but try and come up with new and interesting compositions. And make sure that the compositions of the individual panels and the entire overall composition make sense in terms of what is happening in the story. You tell the story for a very big part with your compositional choices. The way you pick your camera angles, the way you skew things, the way how you place certain things. Are certain things bigger or higher above something else? It all says something. And thumbnails can be done very fast, which means you can make quite a few thumbnails for every single page and get them out in like half an hour and then pick the best stuff. It's also a bit of a puzzle. I kind of like that. Thumbnailing is one of my favorite parts of the comic process. It's really fun for me to play around with the panels and then the shapes within the panels and how I want the balloons to fit. Sometimes it can be a frustrating puzzle because you kind of want to do something that seems impossible, but that's where your creativity comes in, and that's where you really can start thinking about those creative problems that I've talked about before, and that's your job to kind of find a solution for. I always approach it with an attitude of like, there probably is a solution, I just have to find it. So that's why thumbnailing doesn't very often get frustrating for me, just because I like that whole idea of puzzling and fixing problems and stuff. And if you really drill down on your thumbnail process, it's easier to get really, really solid art, something that looks interesting. Even if you mess up the art, mess up the color, if your composition is solid, it will still be able to read well, and it can actually save some other parts of the comic process that you're not too confident about. You can also make sure you have enough space for your word balloons. Nothing is the worst than having a beautifully drawn panel and you actually have to cover half of it up with a balloon.
It's really annoying.
You can also get a good idea of how much detail you need for every single panel. Not every panel needs a background, not every panel needs a big amount of detail, and you can make really sure that you're not drawing unnecessary stuff. And lastly, you can make sure that you have enough variety in your comic panels. A comic can get kind of a boring look when every single panel has shapes that are generally the same camera angle or the same size. Especially size makes a lot of difference. So you can make sure that you have enough variety to keep it visually interesting for your reader. They might not consciously pick up on it, but our brains kind of like that variety. So it just instantly makes your page more interesting. So you can do a lot of quick thumbnails. Actually just do a few rounds for every page, and don't go into detail, don't go into drawing. Use stick figures, or even what I often do is just shapes. Like my characters will just be like skewed rectangles or whatever, and then here's a table, make it a circle, you know, that kind of stuff. It's really fast to draw your thumbnails that way, because usually when we look around in the world we see a lot of detail, but actually our brains know the general shape of things. So for your thumbnails, if you have the general shapes of your composition down, it's way easier to, in theory, go a little more elaborate with every single drawing pass that you do. So you can actually do basic shapes, then draw stick figures on top, then draw actual volumes, then draw, more details and clothing and expressions and stuff. So thumbnail can be as easy as just drawing in a few blocks. One really great resource for this is the book Framed Ink by, I still don't know how to pronounce his name, but Matthew Marcus Mestre, or Mestre? Kind of don't know. But he has a great book, and I actually made a review video about that, about the book Framed Ink. And I really, really recommend it. And he uses that method quite a bit in the book. And it actually, just a few blocks and shapes, he can manage to make it a very interesting composition, really tell a story within that composition, and even have movement in there. It's a really, really great book, and I highly recommend it. Lastly, tell a story with every single thumbnail you do for every single panel. You can, with your shapes and the way you arrange them, you can tell an entire story, and you can use it to actually lose dialogue or lose certain things happening in your panels because you're already communicating certain things through your compositions. That's worthy of another video entirely, which I'm sure I will make in the future. But thumbnails composition is so incredibly important. You can use visual storytelling to the max here. You can also do stuff in this stage that only is reserved for comics. No other medium does it. Like the way your panels interact with each other, the way it flows on the page, that is pure comic stuff. And it is one of my favorite parts of the process, and I hope I made you a little enthusiastic about it as well. And remember, it's always better to spend a little bit more time on a thumbnail that usually doesn't take much time at all than having to fix things when you're drawing, or worse, when you have already drawn something. This is a sketch stage. It's very easy to get rid of certain things. While in the drawing stage, you have put in more effort, more time, and it's harder and harder and harder to lose stuff at that point, or to completely change up a panel. Have a solid composition, draw right on top of it, and you have a very solid page. That was it for this week's video. I promised you an exciting announcement, and that is that I'm working on a new course. It's a little different from your comic journey, which is a course I already have, but that one is mentored and it's live. This is a course that you can take at any given moment, and right now I'm in the development stage, and I'm hosting a giveaway on both Twitter and Instagram, and you can join them both. If you want a second entry, then I encourage you to go to Twitter and to Instagram and join. But the prize of these giveaways is a ticket for my new course. So you can do it for free if you win. The course is going to be called How to Start a Comic. It is about the entire pre-production process. So from coming up with ideas all the way to developing your story, developing your characters, your designs, and setting yourself up for success. We'll talk about shortcuts, templates, how to flat well, how to make use of your reference. And then my goal is to set you up so you are prepared to be able to start making your pages. I see so many artists keep being stuck in the pre-production stage. I was there as well, like writing, keep drawing, and then never actually start making pages. And that is, my course is designed to make you feel like you're more ready, but also know exactly what you need to be doing before you make your comics. So it's perfect for people who want to get started on comics, or who have been trying to start a comic but who keep being stuck, basically. The course is designed to not wander around doing things that actually don't matter before you start making your pages. So go to Twitter, go to Instagram, and find the post about the giveaway. It will run for 2 weeks, and all you need to do is follow my account, like, retweet or share, and then most importantly, leave a comment telling me why you want to make comics and what your biggest obstacle is or was when it came to starting your comic. My goal for this giveaway is to get as much information as I can about what you want out of this course and what you need and what your questions are, so I can cover that stuff so you feel more prepared to start your comic. So go to Twitter, go to Instagram. I will link to the posts in the description below, and I hope to see your comments there. That was it for this week. Thanks so much for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel and go out and make some comics.